Right, then grab a drink and settle in, because today we are taking without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most brilliant and frankly dangerous bits of satire ever committed to celluloid.
Hold on a second. Brilliant. Are you actually joking?
I am absolutely deadly serious, mate. We are talking about Charles Chaplin's 1923 film, The Pilgrim.
And you are calling it a triumph. I mean, that is absolute rubbish.
It is a proper masterpiece.
It is a film about a bloke who steals a vicar's clothes while the poor guy is having a wash in a river. I mean, let's be real. For the people listening at home, it's not exactly high art, is it? It is a farce. And a really doggy one at that.
See, this is exactly the problem with modern criticism. You look at the surface and all you see is a farce. You see the slapstick and you just switch your brain off.
My brain was fully switched on, thank you very much. Which is why I noticed the plot holes.
If you actually pay attention to the source material, and we are looking at the film itself today, alongside this incredible historical overview from the book Cinema: The Magic Vehicle, you will see it is pure, venomous satire. Our mission today is to unpack exactly how Chaplin pulled this off.
Cinema: The Magic Vehicle, a comprehensive guide. Journey 1, 1913 to 1950.
Venomous.
Yeah.
Right. You keep using that word, but I've read the same notes you have. I've watched the film. And frankly, the premise alone is an absolute shambles.
How is the premise a shambles? Explain that to me.
Think about it for just 2 seconds. An escaped prisoner comes across a clergyman bathing in a river. He nicks the clothes, and suddenly, just because it puts a collar on it, everyone just accepts he is a priest. It's incredibly lazy writing.
It is not lazy.
It is a convenient coincidence to set up a situation that is, quite frankly, mental.
It is not a lazy coincidence. It is deeply symbolic. It is the perfect setup for the ultimate imposter syndrome. Look, it's Chaplin taking his great clown persona and thrusting him into a position of ultimate moral authority. That is genius.
It's a contrivance, mate. It is a plot device so thin you could read a newspaper through it. And that is just the first 5 minutes of the film. The whole thing is built on this totally shaky foundation.
But that is the grand tradition of physical comedy. You have to suspend your disbelief to get to the truth. And the truth he is getting at here is all about hypocrisy.
The truth here is that Chaplin ran out of good ideas and decided to just poke a stick in an anthill to see what would happen.
Exactly, poking the anthill. That is exactly why it's brilliant. Look, let's unpack the historical context for the listener before we start shouting about plot holes. This was Chaplin's last film for First National, right?
Right, yeah. Before he went off to produce his own stuff and really just indulge his own ego.
Well, it marks a massive shift in his career. You look at something he did just before this, like The Kid, which is full of what the sources call sentimental lyricism. It is sweet and it is tear-jerking and everybody loves it.
Because it had heart.
It was soft. The Pilgrim is completely different. The sources we are using explicitly say he replaced that sentimentality with satire so venomous and criticism so aggressive. He is not trying to make you cry this time. He is trying to expose the rot in society.
See, I would argue he just lost his sense of proportion. That's what happens when a clown decides he wants to be a philosopher. It gets incredibly tedious. You call it aggressive criticism, but I just call it being mean-spirited.
It is not mean-spirited. It's brutally honest. It is the child pointing at the king and shouting that he is naked.
Oh, please do not believe the hype here, folks. This is just Chaplin feeling a bit full of himself, deciding he is going to take down the church in small-town America in one go. But he does it in the clunkiest way possible. It is a rich Hollywood actor mocking everyday people who just want to bake cakes and go to church.
You are completely missing the entire point of those symbols. The rural coziness and the homemade cakes, that is the mask. That is the exact facade that he is tearing down. But look, we are getting way ahead of ourselves here. We need to talk about the journey to get there. The map scene.
Oh God, not the map scene.
It is genuinely iconic.
It is genuinely ridiculous.
So for those who haven't seen it recently, he is at the railway station, right? He is in the stolen clothes. He is the bogus clergyman.
Which again, nobody at the station questions for a single second.
Well, he nearly gives himself away immediately. There is that brilliant bit with the eloping couple. They see a priest, or what they think is a priest, and they want him to perform an impromptu wedding right there on the platform.
Which is actually a decent gag. I'll give you that one. Watching him panic and run away from people actively trying to get married is quite funny.
Precisely. He flees, and then he has to pick a destination. He is looking at the railway timetable, and he has absolutely no idea where to go. So what does he do? He takes a pin.
And engages in the laziest bit of screenwriting I have ever seen in my life.
He closes his eyes and stabs the pin into the map. It is blind fate.
It is terribly convenient, is what it is. Let's look at the first stab, shall we?
Total disaster.
He hits Sing Sing prison, the exact prison he literally just escaped from.
Which is hilarious.
It is a cartoon. It is Bugs Bunny logic in a live-action film.
It is establishing the internal stakes. He is haunted by his past, and the threat of capture is everywhere. So he tries again. Second stab.
He pricks a sheriff who just happens to be standing right next to him. I mean, come on. What are the bloody odds of that? A sheriff standing right there at that exact second. It is a shambles.
It is brilliant physical comedy. The timing required to pull that gag off flawlessly.
It is not about timing.
Okay.
It's just a cheap visual gag. And then finally we get the third stab. And where does Chance miraculously choose? A town called, wait for it, Devil's Gulch.
Yes, Devil's Gulch.
Devil's Gulch. It means it's a bit on the nose, isn't it? It is hardly subtle. Oh, look, the fake priest is going to the devil's town. Do me a favor.
It is highly symbolic. He has to follow his star, as the text clearly says, even though the name of the town isn't exactly promising. The absurdity is the entire point. He is a convicted criminal fleeing to a place named after the devil while dressed as a man of God. The layers, mate. Think about the layers.
The only layer here is the one on the floor where the script should have been thrown.
Yeah.
It is literally just telling the character to go here because the plot desperately needs you to.
You have absolutely no soul. You just want everything to be purely logical, but this is cinema. This is the magic vehicle. Speaking of which, let's talk about the reception he gets. He finally arrives at Devil's Gulch.
Right, so the bogus clergyman steps off the train.
And there's a whole massive crowd waiting there for him.
Waiting for a new minister that they have never actually met, which again is the only reason this entire film works. If they had sent a single family photograph ahead of time, the movie ends in 4 minutes flat.
But they don't have a photo. That is the beauty of the era. He steps off the train and they welcome him with totally open arms. They embrace him immediately.
And this right here is where it gets incredibly dodgy for me. The film is blatantly suggesting that a hardened criminal, an escaped convict, fits in perfectly seamlessly with this religious world.
Exactly. Yes.
No, but really listen to what that implies. It implies that there is fundamentally no difference between a convict and a parson.
That is the political statement. That is exactly what Chaplin is saying.
Well, it is highly offensive.
Yeah.
I'm playing devil's advocate here, but I can completely see why the censors went mental over this. The source material explicitly says it was banned in many countries. And frankly, looking at it, I get it.
They banned it because it hit a massive nerve.
They banned it because it was objectionable to normal people. The direct equation of criminal equals clergyman. It is not just gentle satire. It is a targeted attack. It is saying that all this rural coziness, the neighborly visits, the homemade cakes, it's saying all of that is perfectly compatible with being a lying crook.
It is saying that an ex-prisoner might feel remarkably at home in that highly judgmental environment. And why is that? Because maybe the people in that environment aren't quite as holy and pure as they pretend to be.
Or maybe it is just saying Chaplin has a massive chip on his shoulder about religion. The source specifically notes that the idea that an ex-con makes an exemplary minister was, quote, particularly difficult to swallow, unquote. And it really is. It is just deeply cynical.
It is actually quite beautiful if you think about it. It shows that for these people, the mask is infinitely more important than the man underneath it. They do not care who he actually is. They only care about the white collar around his neck.
It suggests that the job of a minister is so mind-numbingly easy or so inherently fraudulent that a violent criminal can do it better than the real thing. It's not beautiful, matey. It is just mocking people's genuine faith.
It is exposing unconsciously grotesque behavior. That is a direct quote from the source, by the way.
It's Chaplin being a massive smart aleck.
Well, the smart aleck happens to give us one of the greatest single scenes in film history right after that. The sermon.
I knew you were going to bring up the sermon. I could see it in your eyes.
How could I possibly not bring it up? It is absolute ballet. The text calls it etudes in motion, and they are spot on.
It's a mime act. Let's not dress it up as high art.
It is the story of David and Goliath, 1 Samuel chapter 17, the young shepherd boy and the giant Philistine warrior. But he doesn't speak a single word. He acts the entire thing out perfectly.
Well, yes, because it is a silent film, obviously. He can't speak.
No, but he acts it out as the character preaching to the choir. He pantomimes the sling, he pantomimes loading the stone, he pantomimes the giant falling down, and then the cutting off of the head.
Which is incredibly violent for a Sunday morning service.
It is vivid. The congregation is absolutely spellbound by him.
They are visibly confused. Half of them look terrified.
But there is a young boy in the front row.
Oh, here we go. The plant.
He is not a plant. He is a character. A young boy in the congregation breaks into wild applause right in the middle of the church.
Exactly. And what does Chaplin do in response? Does he act humble? Does he point up to heaven and give glory to God? No. The source says he acknowledges the applause like a seasoned performer.
Because he is a performer, that is the entire joke.
No, that is the narcissism of the director. That is Charles Chaplin breaking the fourth wall to pat himself on the back. Look at me. Look how bloody good I am at acting. It is pure manipulation. He is distracting the audience, both the people in the film and us watching at home, from the undeniable fact that he is a complete fraud.
He is winning them over using the only tools he has. He is using his talents to connect with them on a visceral level.
He is showing off. And let's be brutally honest here for a second. Does a highly aggressive pantomime about chopping a giant's head off really fit the Christian message of love and peace?
It absolutely fits the Old Testament. It is pure fire and brimstone preaching.
It is Chaplin wanting to do a solo sketch right in the middle of a narrative film. It completely stops the plot dead in its tracks.
It is the plot. It shows his raw charisma. It shows exactly why they swallow his lies.
They believe him because they are written to be idiots. That is the only reason they believe him.
They are not idiots. They are just desperate for some kind of dynamic leadership. And he provides it, even if he is just a bogus clergyman. And you have to admit, look at how he handles the church collection right after that. You cannot sit there and tell me that is an absolute genius.
I can, and I will tell you that. It is incredibly cynical.
He steps down and supervises the collection box right. And what does he do? He deliberately pits one side of the church congregation against the other.
Yeah, he creates a petty bidding war during a holy sacrament.
He makes them aggressively compete to see who can contribute the most money. It is brilliant. It completely exposes the church as a capitalist business.
It is just grim to watch, honestly.
It exposes the sheer vanity of the parishioners. They aren't giving money because they are charitable souls. They're giving money because they want to beat the bloke sitting in the opposite pew. He plays them like an absolute fiddle.
It is far too scathing. This is exactly what I mean about him losing his sense of proportion. Chaplin is taking a massive sledgehammer just to crack a tiny nut. He is painting absolutely everyone in this rural town as a hypocrite or a bigot or just a gullible fool.
Because they are. That is exactly what the film is actively attacking. To quote the source again, he is going after small-town attitudes, narrow-mindedness, hypocrisy, and bigotry.
But is there genuinely no one nice in this entire town? Is there no redeeming feature to these people at all?
Yes, there is. Edna. Edna Brown.
Edna is a prop. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
She is just there to be the quote-unquote enchanting love interest. She has no agency.
She represents the genuine innocence that he actually wants to protect from the town's hypocrisy. But look, let's go back to the nasty bits because I know you secretly love them. We have to talk about the dreadful child.
Oh, God, that kid.
The source calls it a splendid episode with the dreadful child.
Splendid is certainly a choice of word. I would call it traumatic.
So Chaplin is doing his pastoral duties, visiting a family house. There's this great kitchen scene. He is standing there trying to ice a cake.
The town minister just casually icing a cake in a stranger's house. Sure, why not?
And this kid, this absolute terror of a child who's been running rampant, he takes his father's good bowler hat and dumps it right onto the cake.
Which is just wanton destruction of property.
And the minister Chaplin is busy chatting and icing it. He doesn't even realize the hat is there under the icing.
Which, again, makes him either completely blind, incredibly stupid, or just convenient for the gag.
He seamlessly covers the entire bowler hat in thick white icing.
And the poor dad is presumably going to try and put that on his head later to go to work. It is a messy, mean joke.
But the best part of the whole sequence is the justice that follows. The source text literally calls it a nasty surprise for the boy.
It is exceptionally nasty, yes.
The boy is finally left alone with the minister. The oblivious parents leave the room. And this boy, who has been physically tormenting absolutely everyone,
Chaplin kicks him.
He gives him what for, and it is glorious.
He is a fully grown adult man, dressed as a Catholic priest, physically assaulting a young child in a kitchen.
The child completely deserves it. The source clearly notes that the child oversteps the mark.
You are actively cheering for a child abuser right now. This is exactly what I mean about the tone. The supposed hero of the film is actually a violent villain. A real minister, or frankly even just a decent, normal human being, wouldn't physically lash out at a little kid no matter how annoying they were being.
Well, a real minister wouldn't, perhaps, but a free thinker absolutely would. That is the exact point the source text makes. He acts as a free thinker who exposes the unconsciously grotesque behavior of the town. That kid is a little monster. The parents are totally oblivious to it. Chaplin is the necessary agent of chaos who balances the scales of justice.
He is a bully mate. He explicitly waits until the parents are safely out of the room before he strikes. It is cowardly.
It is deeply satisfying for anyone watching.
It is aggressive. That is the exact word the source uses right. Criticism so aggressive, it stops being a funny slapstick routine and starts being genuinely uncomfortable. You are watching a grown man beat up a kid for laughs.
I am watching a supposed messenger of love, peace, and forgiveness drop the holy act for 5 seconds and deliver some much-needed street justice. It is hilarious.
It is disturbing. And honestly, it just proves my overarching point. Chaplin actively hates these people. He hates the town, he hates the parents, and he really hates the kids.
He doesn't hate the people, he hates the pretension they wrap themselves in.
I reckon he just hates the audience, to be honest.
Right.
But look, we haven't even got to the part of the film where the plot completely and utterly falls apart.
You mean the brilliant climax?
The absolute shambles, you mean?
Enter Nitro Nick.
Oh, give me strength.
Yeah.
So guess who miraculously shows up in the tiny remote town of Devil's Gulch?
It is his old cellmate from prison.
What are the bloody odds of that happening? Seriously, run the numbers. He stabs a map totally at random, goes to a completely random rural town, and his old cellmate from Sing Sing just happens to be strolling down the high street.
It is fate catching up with him. The past always catches up.
It is a lazy writer who literally doesn't know how to end a movie. Nothing's happening in Act 3. Better bring in a bad guy with a funny name.
Nitro Nick isn't just a random bad guy. He is the thematic foil. He represents the actual dangerous criminal element. The one who truly has no morals compared to our hero.
Right, and he immediately proceeds to steal Edna's mortgage money. Because of course he does. It is a silent movie from the 20s. There legally has to be a stolen mortgage involved somewhere.
It is a classic narrative trope. It grounds the stakes.
It is a tired cliche, even for 1923.
But look at what Chaplin does with it. The bogus clergyman intervenes. He could easily just run away. He could take the stolen money from Nick and split it, but he doesn't do that. He stays and saves Edna.
And he gets caught by the police in the process.
He gets unmasked in the process, yes. He completely sacrifices his own safety and freedom for her well-being.
Which is fine. It is a completely standard Hollywood redemption arc. But it makes a total mess of the whole venomous satire you've been going on about. Is he a biting critic of the hypocritical church? Or is he a genuine saint with a heart of gold? You can't be both.
Yes, you can. He is exactly both. He is a flawed sinner who suddenly acts like a literal saint when it actually matters for someone else.
It's a totally confusing characterization.
Yeah.
And the sheriff... Oh, do not even get me started on the sheriff's reaction.
The text points out that the sheriff is lenient.
Lenient. The sheriff is criminally incompetent. He finally catches a dangerous escaped convict wanted for God knows what in Sing Sing, and he just decides, yeah, you seem like a nice enough bloke, off you go then.
He gives him another chance at life because he saw the genuine good inside him when he saved the girl.
It is a massive cop-out to avoid a sad ending.
It is not a cop-out. It leads directly to the greatest ending in cinema history.
Greatest ending. You are absolutely delusional if you believe that.
I am talking about the border scene. It is legendary.
I call it the I couldn't decide how to finish the script, so I did nothing scene.
Listen to the visual description. The sheriff escorts him, and he is released right on the Mexican border.
Right.
On one side, you have the bandits shooting at each other, total lawlessness, pure chaos.
Mexico, according to Hollywood.
And on the other side, you have strict American justice, the rigid law, the terrible prison he just escaped from.
The USA.
He is literally stranded between these two massive opposing forces. And what does he choose to do?
He looks incredibly confused.
He turns and walks off into the sunset with 1 foot in Mexico and 1 foot in the USA, straddling the actual borderline.
Literally waddling down a line in the dirt.
It is near philosophical. The source text calls it brilliant ambiguity.
It's just a sight gag.
Ah.
He is doing his funny little walk along a painted line.
He is fundamentally stranded between oppressive law and violent lawlessness. He essentially belongs to neither world. He is the ultimate eternal outsider.
He is just incredibly indecisive. Chaplin clearly wrote himself into a massive corner. Think about it. He couldn't have him go back to prison because the audience would cry, and that's too sad. He couldn't have him go totally free in America because the censors would ban it for endorsing crime. And he couldn't have him actually join the Mexican bandits because then he becomes a real villain. So he just had him walk down the middle. It means nothing.
It is pure visual poetry.
It is a complete cop-out, mate.
It is the ultimate visual statement on the human condition. We are all of us walking that exact same line every day.
Oh, spare me the amateur philosophy. It's just a bloke in baggy trousers trying really hard to seem deep.
It is high art with a capital A. And speaking of art, we really have to look at how the book frames this. Cinema, the magic vehicle.
Finally, some actual facts instead of your poetry. Let's look at the book.
This book completely backs up everything I have been saying.
Does it, though? I'm looking at the exact same page right now. It literally calls the film scathing.
But it also calls the works, it covers captivating cinematic treasures.
That is the marketing blurb for the entire book, you numpty. That is not about this one specific film. That's describing hundreds of movies.
But The Pilgrim is prominently included in the book. Therefore, it is critically recognized as a treasure.
The book covers film history from 1913 all the way to 1981. It has got absolutely everything in there. Just because it made the index doesn't mean it is a flawless masterpiece.
The book specifically talks about how these select films reflect the political, social, and cultural events of their respective times.
Exactly. And The Pilgrim perfectly reflects a time when Charles Chaplin was getting way too big for his boots and nobody was telling him no.
It perfectly reflects the eternal struggle of the free-thinking individual against the rigid, narrow-minded institution.
The source material explicitly says, and I quote, "He should have maintained a sense of proportion," end quote.
Well, who exactly says that?
The authors of the source. Right there in the main text, Chaplin's courage cannot be denied, but he should have maintained a sense of proportion. Even the supposed expert historical analysis thinks he went way too far with this one.
That is just one critical opinion from the authors.
It is the stated opinion of the primary text we are literally supposed to be discussing today. It says the film feels like it is almost a political statement.
Almost. It is a political statement.
And that right there is the core problem. It completely stops being an entertaining comedy movie and starts being a heavy-handed lecture. A political lecture delivered by a bloke doing mime.
But the source text also explicitly says that the film shines. The Pilgrim shines mainly because of its hilarious comic situations.
Mainly. Notice the word mainly. That is a qualifying word. It effectively means it is only good despite the heavy-handed preachiness of the rest of it.
It says he expertly combines scenes reminiscent of his very early career with what it calls penetrating descriptions of people.
Honestly, I much prefer the early career stuff. Just give me a pie in the face. Give you a classic slip on a banana peel. I really do not need a penetrating sociological description of why small-town folks in 1923 are awful people.
But that is the natural evolution of his genius. The source points out that his physical movement becomes finely developed etudes in motion. Etudes, that is serious high art terminology used for classical music.
It is just very fancy talk for saying he moves quite well on camera. We all know he moves well. He is Chaplin, for God's sake. But does he actually write well? In this particular film, I am really not sure he does.
The source argues the character descriptions are much more subtle than in his early one-reelers.
Subtle? Are you having a laugh? He violently kicks a child. He literally names the bad town Devil's Gulch. That is the complete and total opposite of subtle. That is hitting the audience over the head with a massive cartoon mallet.
The internal character observation is what's subtle. The judgmental way the parishioners look at him when he first arrives, the petty way they eye each other up during the collection box scene, that is incredibly subtle human observation.
It's called unconsciously grotesque in the text. That is not subtle. That is just drawing a broad, nasty caricature.
It is capturing the ugly truth.
It is just bitter.
We are clearly just going in circles on this point. The book frames this whole thing as a journey, a profound time travel experience for the viewer.
It is certainly a journey. A long, exhausting journey deep into the unchecked ego of Charles Chaplin.
It is meant to be a helpful guide to uncharted cinematic treasures.
Well, I personally think this specific treasure should have stayed safely uncharted.
You are absolutely impossible to debate with.
I am just being realistic about what is actually on the screen.
You are a complete Philistine. You are just like Goliath.
Oh, right. And you are little David, are you? Slinging tiny pebbles of pretentious nonsense at me.
See? The metaphor works perfectly.
Let's just get back to the actual details of the film. I want to talk about this bogus clergyman aspect again because it really bugs me.
Go on then.
The source explicitly mentions the exact equation of criminal equals clergyman.
Yes, it does.
Do you honestly, in your heart, think Chaplin literally believed that? Or was he just being deliberately provocative to sell tickets?
I think he genuinely believed that any massive institution naturally attracts people who desire power over others, and criminals fundamentally desire power over others. So there's a massive, terrifying overlap there.
That is an incredibly dark and cynical view of the world.
It is the 1920s, man. The whole world was rapidly changing. The so-called golden age of Hollywood was coming, but the innocence of the pre-war era was completely gone. He was reflecting that trauma.
The source talks heavily about the golden age of Hollywood. But this film feels bizarrely stuck between two completely different eras. It has got the broad, silent slapstick of 1910, the commentary of a 1970s film.
Which is exactly why it is light years ahead of its time.
Or it is just a tonal mess.
It is undeniably visionary.
It is undeniably a shambles.
Okay, let's look at the fine balletic movement again, since you hate the politics. The source mentions the stark comparison to his early career. The escalating physical collisions.
Which, as I said, are actually quite funny to watch.
But this film deliberately moves away from just relying on those collisions.
Much to its massive detriment, I would say.
No, it actively elevates the entire medium of film. It proves, once and for all, that comedy can be highly intellectual.
Comedy should primarily be funny. If I have to sit there and actively think about the socio-political ramifications of a bowler hat sitting on a cake, I am not actually laughing, am I?
You can easily do both. You can laugh at the visual gag and think about the deeper meaning.
I laughed at the cake gag, sure. But I certainly didn't think about the unconsciously grotesque behavior of the oblivious parents until you forcefully brought it up just now.
That is only because this film is working on multiple levels at once. It is working on your subconscious, whether you realize it or not.
It is mostly just working on my last nerve.
What about the ending again? I really want to go back to that final image. 1 foot in Mexico and 1 foot in the USA.
We literally just did this 5 minutes ago.
But really think about the stunning visual. The sun setting in the background.
It is a completely standard, classic cowboy movie ending.
But he is fundamentally not a cowboy. He is a pilgrim.
He is a convicted crook wearing a stolen suit.
He is a pilgrim. It is literally the title of the film.
The Pilgrim. Yeah, right. Implying a holy religious journey.
Exactly that. A desperate pilgrimage to finally find himself. Or to find a place where he truly fits in without a mask.
Well, he definitively doesn't find it, does he? That is the whole point of that shot. He just ends up stuck in a dusty no man's land.
Which is incredibly tragic.
It is deeply frustrating from a narrative standpoint.
It is a beautiful, poetic tragedy.
It is complete lack of narrative resolution.
Real life has no neat narrative resolution.
Yeah, but movies absolutely should. That's why we watch them.
Not this kind of movie. This one is near philosophical, as the book says.
Near being the incredibly operative word in that sentence. It tries very hard to be deep, but completely misses the mark.
I think it easily hits the absolute bullseye.
I think it wildly misses and hits the sheriff by mistake.
Okay, I will admit that was a pretty good callback to the map gag.
Thank you very much. I try my best.
But seriously, let's look at the expert assessment of the collection boxes scene.
Yeah, what about it?
The specific way he physically weighs the boxes.
Yeah.
He doesn't even bother to look inside them. He just expertly weighs them in his hands to instantly see exactly how much money is in there.
It is a very solid physical gag.
It is brilliant, subtle character work. It clearly shows he is a total pro, a seasoned professional thief.
And just doing his normal day job.
And his day job just coincidentally happens to be playing the local person.
Which naturally brings us right back to the highly offensive part of the satire.
Well, please give it a rest with the offensive stuff.
I am just saying the truth. If I was a working vicar in 1923, I would be absolutely fuming watching this.
Good. Proper art should make comfortable people fume.
Proper art should actually entertain its paying audience.
It absolutely does entertain. It literally has a hat hidden inside a cake.
The hat in the cake is good. I will give you that.
I see. Even a miserable cynic like you admits it is funny.
I happily admit there are isolated moments. I agree that the comic situations are occasionally hilarious, just as the source says, but the overall package, the supposed venomous satire, the highly aggressive criticism, it just leaves a really sour taste in the mouth.
It is supposed to leave a sour taste. It is societal medicine.
It is cinematic poison.
It is the absolute unvarnished truth.
It is absolute rubbish, mate.
Right. We are very clearly never going to agree on the actual soul of this film, are we?
Not a chance in hell.
But we can at least agree that it is a truly fascinating piece of history.
It is undeniably interesting. I will definitely give you that much. It is a highly interesting, complete failure.
An incredibly interesting, absolute masterpiece.
Let's just agree to aggressively disagree.
Fine by me, but for the record, I am definitively right.
Only in your wildest dreams, mate.
So it is time for the final verdict. What exactly do we tell the listener to do with this film?
You go first. Try and sell your venomous masterpiece to them.
Right. Listen to me closely, folks. You absolutely need to watch The Pilgrim. You need to watch it because it is Charles Chaplin at his most fearless and daring. He is completely taking off the safe, comfortable mask of the sad little tramp, and he is putting on the highly controversial mask of the bogus clergyman just to show us who we really are as a society. Watch it purely for the brilliant expert assessment of the church collection boxes. Watch it for the splendidly chaotic episode with the icing and the cake. Watch it for the sheer, unadulterated audacity of the political satire. It is, as the book rightfully says, a truly captivating cinematic treasure.
And my advice is this: skip it. Honestly, unless you are a university film student desperately writing a thesis on the unchecked director ego in the 1920s, just give it a massive miss. If you actually want to see Chaplin at his brilliant best, just go watch The Kid again. That film has actual human heart. The Pilgrim is quite literally just a bloke in a stolen suit being incredibly mean to a small child and viciously mocking normal people just for baking homemade cakes. It is deeply dodgy. It is wildly aggressive, and the overarching plot is a total shambles.
You are hopeless. You are absolutely entirely hopeless.
I prefer to call it highly discerning.
I call it incredibly boring.
I call it being completely right.
Listeners, please ignore him entirely. Go and watch the film tonight.
Listeners, please trust me on this one. Save your valuable time.
Okay, fine. But before we finally wrap this deep dive up, I want to leave everyone with a question. A final, provocative thought to chew on.
Oh, brilliant. Here we go with the philosophy again.
No, seriously, I want you to think about this. The film posits a very specific situation where a literal convicted criminal, a man with absolutely no religious training, no holy ordination, nothing at all, casually steps into the highly revered role of a town minister. And by all accounts, right up until his old cellmate randomly shows up, he actually does a remarkably good job of it. The townspeople absolutely love him. He brings incredible fresh energy to the parish. He manages the church affairs brilliantly.
He literally creates a capitalist bidding war for the Sunday collection plate.
He effectively engages the entire community. So the real question is this: if a violent convicted criminal does a genuinely better job at being a local minister than the real holy men do, what does that actually say about the religious institution itself?
It mostly says that the scriptwriter is a massive raging cynic.
No, I want you to really dig deeper into the premise. Is the external mask truly more important than the actual man wearing it? If you simply put on the clerical collar, do you magically become the priest? Or is the sacred role of the priest actually just a clever societal costume that absolutely anyone, even a criminal, can wear to gain unearned authority?
Oh, please give it a rest with the heavy stuff. You are massively overthinking a physical comedy gag.
It is deep social philosophy, mate.
It is highly past time for a pint down the pub.
Fair enough. I can't argue with that. But you are definitely buying the first round.
Hang on, I definitely bought the drinks last time we were out.
Did you really? I honestly have absolutely no recollection of that whatsoever.
You have an incredibly convenient memory when it suits you. Just exactly like Chaplin's lazy plot mechanics.
Ouch. That was a very low blow to end on.
Highly accurate, though, wasn't it?
Right. Well, that is us officially done for today's deep dive. The Pilgrim. Masterpiece or massive misfire? We will let you decide for yourselves.
It's a misfire.
Shush. Thanks so much for listening, everyone.
Cheers, folks.